Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are taking on a question that is, well, it's absolutely fundamental to being human. What if the person you so carefully built, the one you defend every single day, with all your anxieties and convictions, what if that person is actually the real source of your suffering?
That's the big one, isn't it? Yeah, we're diving into sources from a few mystical traditions, and they're all focused on what they call spiritual awakening.
Hmm.
But the definition is it's surprising. It's not about adding something new. It's about remembering that you are fundamentally not a separate, isolated self.
It's a remembering.
It's a remembering. It's the realization that we're all intrinsically part of, well, what these masters call God, a divine loving consciousness that just is everything.
Okay, so the mission for this deep dive is to unpack what our sources call the human dilemma,
Mm-hmm.
which is, I guess, the pain that comes from feeling separate.
Yeah.
And then to look at the path the saints and mystics lay out to break free from that illusion.
To experience that divine nature for yourself. And here's the core idea we have to get our heads around right from the start. The us that we're always defending and promoting. In reality, it's just a bunch of thoughts, a collection of fleeting ideas about who we think we are. It's not solid.
A collection of thoughts. Okay, let's unpack that, because this separate self, this personal ego, it really does become a full-time job, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The sources say we spend our whole lives defending this false idea of solidity. We're constantly trying to manipulate things.
People, jobs, everything.
Everything, trying to bend life to our way instead of God's way.
And what's the cost of all that effort?
Misery, plain and simple. Because every moment you spend propping up that false self, you're just reinforcing the feeling of being separate from the source. The texts are really, really clear on this. The ego game is unwinnable. You can't win.
Unwinnable. So what does that look like day to day? I mean, how do we see this playing out?
It's that constant internal chatter, right? The planning, the blaming, the anxiety. We're always trying to control what happens next to protect this fragile little identity we've built. And if something goes wrong,
The ego flips out.
it flips out, it defends itself. Gossip, blame, self-pity, you name it. We burn so much energy just putting the pieces back together after reality bumps up against us. Actually, the science fiction writer Ray Bradbury just nails it in this one quote.
Oh, what did he say?
He describes the daily grind of the ego like this. He says, "Every morning, I jump out of bed and step on a landmine.
A landmine.
The landmine is me.
Wow.
After the explosion, I spend the rest of the day putting the pieces back together." And that, right there, is the ego project. Constant self-reconstruction after you just blew yourself up.
Stepping on the landmine of yourself every morning. That perfectly captures that feeling of anxiety, that constant work. So the sources basically ask, are you insane? Why spend your whole life trying to protect and improve this personal mind if it just leads you back to the landmine?
Exactly. They describe it as almost funny but tragic, like putting lipstick on a pig. It doesn't change what it is. The real wake-up call, the first step, is just realizing you're trapped. That overwhelming desire for freedom has to kick in.
Okay, so if the personal mind is the trap, what's the key? The sources talk about the masters, these spiritual teachers, and they say the path involves dying to the limited self and resigning our position of running the world.
That sounds terrifying, I know. And the saints, the mystics, they don't downplay that. They say this great freedom only comes when you stop identifying with that limited self. But that brings up a really important question. What about the fear? The fear of letting go of control must be immense.
Of course. I mean, that fear of losing control is probably what built the ego in the first place.
Precisely. And the sources say that fear starts to dissolve through practice, through a specific mechanism of surrender and stillness. You have to, as they say, let go of everything and everyone, and this is the key, still the mind in meditation. Only then can you tune into this current they call Shabd.
Okay, Shabd, or
Yeah.
Nam. Let's define that, because this is where things get a bit more metaphysical. The sources say this is the thing that makes our love for the body, the mind, and the material world just sort of fade away.
Yes. So Shabd is defined as the life-giving, intelligent power of God. They describe it as being both an audible sound and a visible light. It's the current that sustains literally all of creation. It's beyond language. Swamiji, a 19th century master, just said, "It is all love."
Hang on, that's a huge claim. Audible sound and visible light. How do they justify that? It sounds more like poetry than a literal description of the divine.
And that's the core difference in this tradition. They say God isn't some latent, abstract thing. He is superlatively dynamic.
There's a great description from a scholar, Julian Johnson. He puts it like this. When a normal person speaks, they set air vibrations in motion. But when God speaks, the act of creation, He doesn't just set vibrations in motion. He himself moves in and through those vibrations.
So the vibration is God. Exactly. The vibration is the sound, the Shabd. And the mystics who experience it describe it as a mighty, luminous, and musical wave. It's a living force. That's why they call it the rocket fuel that takes us to God. The bliss of it is so intense that once you taste it, nothing else even comes close.
Like owning jewels and then not caring about cheap trinkets.
That's the exact analogy they use. Why would you chase the ego's trinkets once you've felt the real thing?
Which brings up the most practical question of all. If this current is out there, why don't we all feel it?
Our attention. That's the whole obstacle. Our attention is, as they say, so riveted on this physical dimension of people, objects, and places. We have to drop the obsessive attachment to our wants, preferences, and judgments. Otherwise, we just stay stuck here, feeding that ego landmine.
So we're basically playing a game against ourselves.
Yeah.
We say we want to know God, but we're actively pushing him away, even while he's pulling us in.
That push and pull, that is what they call the great cosmic game of love. And to navigate it, the mystics lay out a roadmap, a two-stage journey.
Okay, a roadmap is good. That makes it practical. What's stage one?
Stage one is all about understanding. It's about realizing with total conviction that you are not the voice in your head. You're not the ego mind. You are the greater awareness that is looking out at the world through the filter of the ego mind.
Okay.
So the job in stage one is to stop playing the ego game, to withdraw your soul consciousness to a focal point they call the I center.
The eye center. Let's clarify that for anyone listening. Is that a physical spot?
Good question. No, not a physical spot you can touch on your forehead. The eye center is the seat of the soul, the point of concentration behind and between the eyebrows. Stage one is about pulling all your attention away from the senses, the 9 doors of the body, and focusing it at that one single point.
So it's a huge shift of attention.
Yeah.
From the world to that one point. And how long does that take?
It can take a long time. It's a constant battle with old habits. But once you start that conscious withdrawal, once you stop believing the ego's drama every single minute, then stage two just naturally starts to happen.
And stage two is the merging.
That's it. Stage two is the experience of merging. This is when your focused consciousness finally becomes aware of that massive pull of the Shabd, that dynamic living current, and you develop the ability to just let go and merge into it. You're not just looking through the filter anymore. You're moving beyond it, becoming one with the source.
So the engine that drives you from stage one to stage two has to be that constant minute-by-minute practice of letting go, of surrendering.
It's a moment-by-moment choice. You have to continually choose to shift your attention away from the world, away from the demands of the personal mind, so that your love for the world fades and a much bigger, much more elevating love for the Creator takes its place.
And let's close on the feeling of that. The relief. Our whole culture conditions us to build and defend this persona, this endless self-improvement project, and that just reinforces the illusion that we're separate.
And it's exhausting. That's the feeling of stepping on that landmine every single morning. But when that game finally ends, the relief is just profound. A contemporary teacher put it perfectly. Who knew that dissolving would be so sweet?
Liberation, then, really comes from that steady practice of letting go, taught by the saints who have already found their way out of the maze. It's the conscious choice to stop living in those fragmented pieces of the landmine and just rest in the whole.
So if the ego is built by defending this persona, and the sources say that tragic losses can often be the thing that forces us to surrender, here's a final thought. How does our deep fear of loss, losing our stuff, our status, even our lives, how does that fear become the very fuel we use to build and defend the prison of the personal mind we're trying to escape in the first place? Something to think about the next time you feel that urge to plan everything down to the last detail.